Hi guys, this is Samith Pich from Pich TV, and in this episode I'm going to actually perform for you one of my first Toastmaster speeches, which was about maybe 2 years ago. And in this speech it's called What's in a Name, and it's all about the story about how I got my name and the stories and meanings that I attached to it and how they've changed over time. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, my name is Samith Pich, and I love my name. Dale Carnegie famously once said, "There's no other sound more sweeter or more important than the entire language than a person's name." And I agree. But why is that so? And what's in a name anyways? And do our names make us, or do we make our names? As someone who is the father of three beautiful daughters, I know the anguish and frustration out of trying to choose a perfect name for your future child. And that's just what I put my wife through. For months on end, my wife would brainstorm with me name after name, trying to find the perfect name, and I was of absolutely no use whatsoever. All I would do was disagree. I would say, "Nah, don't like it. No, that reminds me of someone I don't like. Oh no, you can't call her that name because she'll be teased for that name." So I was of absolutely no use. All I knew was that I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I would know it when I heard it. According to the US Names Registry, there are only about 15,400 unique names out there. So I knew my wife would eventually get the right one. And yes, we did. And the first time I heard my daughter's name, Nalina, called out for the first time, it was like music to my ears. It was exactly the name that I would want for a baby girl, and we loved it immediately, and it stuck. And I also loved the meaning, which was lotus. But that's the thing with names, isn't it? They all have history and meanings to us. For example, unfortunately, I've never yet met an Amanda that I've ever connected or even liked. I've never met an Alex who also wasn't smart. You may have probably similar names in your repertoire that make you feel particular things. Now, Samith, according to my mum, means runner. I was born in 1979 in Cambodia during a time of a terrible civil war. As a refugee, my name seemed pretty apt as we fled hundreds of kilometers to the Thai border and then by boat to Australia. And my surname, Pich, well, there's an interesting story about how I got that name as well. But first of all, a little secret. Pich is a totally made up name. That's right, it's a name that's not even connected to my family whatsoever. This was an actual practice that many Cambodians during this time of war used, even it was used to protect the identities of their loved ones. But try having four different surnames growing up and growing to school. It was very strange indeed. My surname Pich was chosen at birth. Now picture this. Instead of a hospital ward, picture a pitch black jungle forest at 1 a.m. in the morning. Instead of doctors and nurses, picture a palm tree to bear upon and the light of a full moon. I was born outside of a rural village where there was a particularly bad battle going on. During that battle, my mum fled the village into the jungle, had me, and as she looked up into the night sky, she could see the battle in the distance, mortars and flares going up into the sky. And she remarked to herself that despite what was happening, how pretty the lights were, how each bright light seemed like a gem or a diamond in the sky. And what a wonderful philosophy to have, that even in our darkest of times, we can see beautiful things. But then, that's my mum. So she gave me the name Pich, which means diamond, bright, shiny, potential thing. So Samith Pich altogether means running, bright diamond, potential, shiny thing. Not a bad name, I would say. But I always felt it was kind of vague. I mean, how can a diamond run anyway? Growing up and trying to fit in a normal school in Perth, Western Australia, how I wished I could have had just a much more easier to sounding, easier to spell name like Barry or Steve. I would have killed for Steve, but I didn't get that. Instead, I got my name. Unfortunately, as I grew up, I didn't attach a lot of self-worth to my name. Because in the back of my mind, despite the bravery of my parents, despite being in the most luckiest country on earth, I couldn't help thinking to myself, if my name means runner, then what am I running away from? And if I'm always running away from things, does that make me a coward? For the longest time, my name and the meaning that I gave it, that I was a person who ran away from things, would signify how I would approach my life and my relationships. It would color the way I would look at challenges and hardships, which was a pretty sad way to live. So one day, I'm at my mum's place. She's feeding me this amazing feast. And I decided once and for all just to get some more detail and history behind my name. So I simply asked her, Mum, what does my name mean, really? And she says, friendly diamond. And I practically spit the food out on the table. I'm like, what? You said it means running diamond, bright potential thing. And in typical mum focus, she goes, don't be stupid. Practically gives me a backhand across the back. And then she proceeds to shove more food into my mouth. And she goes, well, obviously you weren't listening. And I would have protested, but I had food in my mouth. And something told me to say that I should just listen. She probably had a grain of truth, and I probably didn't listen to the whole thing that she said. So I said, Mum, can you explain some more? Tell me the whole story here. So she says, Samith, or Samith, as she likes to say, Samith. She said, that actually does mean running. But more commonly, it's what you would refer to as a friend. Like in Australia, how everybody calls each other mate, yeah? Imagine you see a friend across a road and you run across the road and with open arms you greet each other. So that's what Samith means. It means to be a friend who you run across to. And then my mum said something that I would never forget. And in the end, what matters most is who you are on the inside, not what your name is called. And you, my son, you are a good boy. Now imagine what a revelation that was for a young, confused man such as myself at the time. It was a weight off my shoulders. It was a totally new meaning that I'd never considered, that I'd never even thought of. So the meaning that I gave myself wasn't actually the true meaning. My name was infinitely more positive. I wasn't just a person who ran away from things. I was a person who could run towards things, and people could run towards me. I could choose to be anything that I wanted. And from that day onwards, I chose to be my own best friend. Nowadays, I love my own name. It's the sweetest sound. But hey, what's in a name anyways? William Shakespeare famously once said, that which we call rose would smell just as sweet with any other name. Thank you.